Girl wears 9 pairs of panties in front of her mother just because she was violated by her stepfather every night. But she did not have the courage to say it directly. She could only seek her mother's protection through this way. But the mother pretended not to see. So the girl hung a bear with a bell above her bed, hoping that the sound of the bell would bring her mother's help. But late at night, the girl's bed began to shake violently. The bells were ringing like crazy. But the mother was as deaf and dumb as she was unresponsive. The next morning, the mother saw the traces left on her daughter's bed. That's when she finally reacted. She wiped the mark with all her might, as if by wiping it off, as if nothing had happened last night. The girl crouched in the corner, watching everything with indifference. Her eyes were full of hatred and numbness, and the mother was still trying to wipe the bed sheets. Maybe it was too long. Some traces had already dried on the sheets. She couldn't wipe it off until the end. The mother slammed the rag on the sheets. The loud noise scared the girl and knocked over her glass of water. She looked at her mother in horror. At that moment, the mother's eyes were filled with jealousy and anger. The next moment, she grabbed her daughter, grabbed her by the arm. Then she grabbed a chicken feather duster and hit her. The girl's begging and crying only let the mother hit harder and harder. Eventually, the girl was beaten to death alive. By the time the police received the report, the girl's body was already stiff. After the forensic evaluation results, the girl had been violated several times before her death, and there were obvious signs of assault. The police first arrested the girl's mother, but she did not say a word. So there was no evidence to prove the woman's guilt. The trial was at a standstill because of the seriousness of the case. So the police chief decided to interrogate her himself. The commissioner is obviously more sophisticated. The first time he entered the room, he gave her a hard time. The woman did not answer the question. Beat. The woman's voice is too low. Beat her. This action finally pried the woman's mouth open, but the woman was still uncooperative. Apart from admitting that she killed her daughter by accident, not a word about her husband's assault on her daughter. See, the director directly pulled out a pistol with a gun on the top of her head. He asked if it was okay for me to kill you by accident. The woman was so scared that she cried out in pain, but still did not want to tell the truth. The director was furious. She ordered her men to undress the woman. The woman was undressed and stood naked in front of the crowd. They put on gloves with ease. The woman is ordered to spread her legs and bend over. Then began to examine her intimate parts in public. In the face of this humiliation, the woman still said she had killed her daughter by mistake. She refused to mention that her husband had violated her daughter. You don't want to talk about it? Then turn the room temperature to 0 degrees, and then get a bucket of ice water and throw it on the woman. As the temperature in the room gets colder and colder, the cold wind blew the ice water over the woman. The woman was shivering from the cold, but she actually still clenched her teeth and refused to admit. Now the director is baffled. What exactly made her so insistent? On the other hand, several police officers came to the woman's home. They ran into the woman's husband, who was sneaking around. Don't know what he was going to do. At that moment, the captain suddenly smelled a burning smell. He told his team to control the man's movement. Then he himself rushed into the room, searching for the smell. He found the half-burned videotape. And then, in the washing machine, he found the girl's clothes and bed sheets that had not been washed. The captain hurriedly took the man and the evidence back to the police station. After the efforts of the technical department of the bureau successfully salvaged nearly half of the video, but only footage of the man's domestic violence against his daughter. There was no key evidence of the girl's assault. The only breakthrough point is still the woman. So the investigation team came back to the interrogation room. They changed the style of the previous director. They became extremely polite to the woman. Not only helped the woman dry her body, they also gave her a glass of boiled water. The female prosecutor sat down opposite the woman, persuaded the woman with all her heart and soul, promised her that if she confessed her husband's crime, she could reduce her sentence appropriately. But the woman was still unmoved. She continued to insist that she didn't know anything. It seems that she is going to cover up her husband to the end. The prosecutor saw no effect, so he took out pictures of the girl's body, one by one. He kept throwing them in front of the woman. The bruises on the girl's body were so glaring. Then he turned on the TV and played the tape, looking at the daughter being played by her husband. The woman just closed her eyes and avoided it. But the prosecutor wouldn't let her have her way. The officer opened the woman's eyes and made her see for herself what kind of a monster she was harboring, to see what kind of crimes he had committed against her 12-year-old daughter. until she saw the shaking bed on the video. The woman broke down. Tears slipped from the corners of her eyes. The prosecutor wouldn't let up. Told the woman that as long as she only confessed to the man's crimes, turn off the TV. But the woman let her tears fall. But she wouldn't say anything. The director angrily slapped the woman. The woman was lying on the ground in pain. Seeing that nothing more could be asked, she ordered the police to send her back to her cell. I thought the case had come to a standstill. But at night there was a new twist. The woman rubbed her wrists hard against the cement corners. She tore the wound open with her teeth. She was afraid that her husband would be killed if she spoke out. So she decided to commit suicide, but she was found by a police officer on patrol. She was taken to the hospital. By the time the chief arrived, the woman was out of danger. Looking at the dead woman in the hospital bed, the director told the other officers to leave the room first. Then he sat down and talked to the woman, talked about his experience. It turned out that her daughter had also been bullied by her own husband, but her choice was different from the woman's. She was determined to send her husband to prison with her own hands. But even so, her daughter also left an indelible psychological shadow. After listening to the director's story, the woman finally spoke up. In fact, she knew all about her husband's atrocities every night. Daughter's self-help behavior she also saw in the eyes, but she did not dare to say anything more, because at the age of 14 she had also been bullied by her father. She had a daughter at the age of 15. She was even kicked out of the house by her mother. All these years, she had to move from man to man to survive, but they all ended up being abandoned for various reasons. And the crimes of her current husband, she thought that as long as she pretended that nothing had happened, this family can always be maintained. But she was wrong. After hearing the woman's story, the director was not so hardened inside. This woman seems to be an adult. In fact, she was a child who hadn't grown up. No one had ever told her she should learn to fight back when she encounters such things. So when her daughter was bullied, she only ran away. Only after she heard the chief's story did the woman become brave in a rare way. She finally confessed to her husband's crime. In the end, the man was sentenced to death. The woman will also spend the rest of her life in prison, but she will spend the rest of her life to redeem herself, even if she can't get back what she lost. But it is better than doing nothing. Finally, I hope that all women who have been hurt will be brave enough to come forward, take up the legal weapon to protect themselves. This is the real meaning of this film. Thank you for watching. See you next time.